another episode of Curing Racism. I am your host, Paz Simpson, the happiness engineer, along with my co host, one of the greatest people I know. Together, we come racism. We are curing racism. We'll examine some of our commonly accepted beliefs that have our unfortunate behavioral biases, but together, one conversation at a time, we can make a difference. So, Paul, how are you, brother?
I'm doing pretty darn good. Had a good morning run this morning. Every once in a while, a few times a week, so I get out and jog a little bit. I think it's a little bit of an overstatement to call it a run. I used to run, now I just jog. Because I just want to keep jogging so I can jog a few miles on my 100th birthday, which will be here, before you know
Yeah. Hey, I believe you'll be able to do it. I believe it. I definitely do. You know, Paul, we were having an amazing discussion on Monday in private that we thought would be pretty amazing to talk about here. You know, that curing racism takes courage. We were sharing the story of the woman who became the first um, non-melanated woman to join the Deltas. From a experience she had as a child that changed everything about how she saw life. You know, but there are people all across history that have realized that injustice needs to be addressed. And it doesn't always have to be addressed by the people that are being the victims of the injustice, but
yeah.
it must be addressed by those who are part of that victimizing group.
Amen to that. We're pretty cheerful people, you and I, and we've been through a lot, and we've come through a few storms in life, and come out the other side with a little bit of playfulness and happiness, and even joyful warrior energy. But we really don't want to discount the stress and the strain, and especially the courage that it takes for people to address racism whenever they see it. It's such a commonly accepted bias that whenever you speak up and say, hey, I don't want you talking that way, or hey, that's just not right, and call somebody out when they're being prejudicial, when they're being discriminatory, when they're putting down people in another tribe, and especially, when that tribe just happens to have different colored skin than they do. That takes real courage sometimes. And throughout history, we've seen people, white people, have that level of courage. Abraham Lincoln to create the Emancipation Proclamation, and other people that we can think of. That I just thought of a few, throughout history. Harry Truman had the courage after World War II in 1948 to desegregate the military. Branch Rickey had the courage to draft Jackie Robinson as the first black, well, let's say he was the first black person in the white major leagues. The
Hmm.
Negro leagues were out there, and they had professional baseball players too. But Jackie was the first person in the white major leagues. Up until that point, the all white major leagues. Um, and it just takes courage. Sometimes it takes courage to go against the tribe, to go against the crowd, to go against your family and your friends and say, hey, wait a minute, that's not right. Because you risk, their criticism, you risk their anger when you call them out on their BS. When you say to them in whatever way you say that, hey, you got to look through those superficial differences and see the common values that unite us, to see that person for the good person that they are, to accept them as being a person of character, even though they don't look like you, It takes real courage to go against the crowd. I can't hear you, my friend. You are. I
You
hear.
go.
I
Can you
see.
hear me now?
There you
Can you
are.
hear me
Yes. Go
now?
ahead, please.
There you
Yeah.
go. Perfect. So yeah, to know that it does take courage when you're moving alone, right? But when courage, right? It doesn't take courage anymore. So what do I mean by that? When you start to see someone for who they are, and then you encourage your friends to do the same, not to just see Paz as the chocolate covered person that he is, or Paul as peach colored friend, but to see us as beautiful spirits, right? That have something to add to this world, right? If we stop looking at, like you say, the superficial differences, right? We can see how much more we have that unite us. I got to moderate a DEI conference for the Chamber of Commerce today, and one of the things I talked about was curing racism, and we have more things of the same, right? Most of us have 10 fingers. Most of us 10, even if you don't have any teeth, we all have one big smile we can give, right? Those things unite. If we look for those things, right, we can build from there, right? You know, just like there's uh, a jerk that's black, there's a jerk that's white, there's a jerk that's Chinese, there's a jerk that's, any other nationality you may name, but there's also a loving person that's white, a loving person that's black, a loving person that's in those nationalities. So don't allow, right, the negativity to throw you off from seeing the positives in being connected to someone outside of your inner circle.
I love that. So if you are listening to this, or you know somebody who needs to have a waking up, we know that that moral character, that integrity and respect and forgiveness and kindness and all of those other great virtues of the spirit that you can name know no boundaries. They're not contained within any one ethnic group. They're not contained with any one, culture or organization at all. That there are good people everywhere you go. And when you are a good person, you will discover those good people. So if you find that you need a little bit of courage, then surround yourself with people who see what you see. Surround yourself with people who look for and find and see the goodness, the greatness in everyone, everywhere. And you will be empowered in that kind of relationship, in that kind of community. And then you can, together with them, go out and have one conversation and make one connection and help heal one heart at a time.
Amen. Amen to that one. I love that. I say one of the greatest things that we can do today is to really introduce yourself to someone who doesn't look just like you. My challenge at Chamber of Commerce to have one more. If you haven't had, because I asked how many people have dinner at least once a month, whether it's intentional or unintentional, with people outside of their cultural background. And everyone raised their hand, they do at least one, whether intentional or unintentional. My challenge was to do one more intentional one, right? To step outside of your ethnic group. Step outside of your comfort zone. We were blessed to have a young lady on stage who was the youngest city council person in our city ever. And I know that she was very uncomfortable on stage because I knew her personally. And I said, look at her, stepping into her greatness, being willing, to be uncomfortable right now for you to learn this, right? So what can you do today? Like, how can you and it was funny because when we were done, I always smile, right? That we can just smile, help someone else see miracles in life every day, right? And someone at the end of it, they ask, what are you going to do? What are you going to take with you? It's like, I'm going to smile more. And we cheer. But yes, we all have that, right, to extend a smile. And, you know, um,
I love it. I love it. That's one of the reasons that.
Eric Swanson, Mr. Awesome, does something.
Oops, you're breaking up on us, Paz. We can't hear you. We can see you a little bit. See if you're coming back now. Give it a shot.
Okay.
There you are.
All
I
right.
heard
How we
that.
doing now? Any better?
We're good.
All right.
Yeah.
Perfect. Yes. Eric Swanson, Mr. Awesome, once said that he gives 5 people a high five before noon, right? So 5 unaware strangers hands up and gives a high five, you know, just to let them feel good. What can you do, right? We all have something. I tend to smile in the face of strangers, because a smile, I say, is the key to unlocking your together.
Amen. So our challenge to everybody is to go out and make a difference today. Have a little act of courage. Reach out, shake a hand, give somebody a high five, give everybody a smile, and see what you can't do about discovering the common values that unite us across all of our different ethnic divides and across even our political organizations, and find those common values. And let's make this world a little bit better place by sharing a little more positive energy and a little less of that criticism and divisive conversations that we have way too much in our society today. And if your organization, your community, your company could use a little support when it comes with diversity education, reach out to Paz Arrive through curingracism.com. We'd be happy to come do a workshop, live or over Zoom, and talk to you about our experiences and helping people see through those cultural boundaries so that you can harvest the wisdom, the talent, the greatness within all people, no matter what they look like. That's it for me, Paz. Thanks again for a great
Yes,
great
yes. And
broadcast.
even if you're just and you make a difference and you're alone, right? Reach out to Paul or I or in curingracism.com, right? Because in the great words of the late great Michael Jackson, you are not alone. There are people like us. There are people all over to join you in making a difference in curing racism. So don't wait to find someone if you feel like you're just gonna do it alone. Send an email, join us and let us see how we can support you.
Till next week. Love you, Paz.
I love you too, my brother. Everyone, remember, it only takes one conversation, one connection, one heart at a time for us to start curing racism together.